Hello, everybody. Hello, Rich. Thank you one more time for asking me to join you and your wonderful readers and the wonderful people that support your program and your magazine. I'm so thrilled actually to be a part of what you're doing and to shed some light on the industry that I love, care very much about, and that is the film and television industry, live action show industry, and specifically the world of stunts. So I guess first I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. My name is Greg Dolph. I'm just a boy from a small town in northwest Indiana. I grew up across the street from a cornfield, just a guy in a blue-collar family who had a dream of moving to Hollywood to become an actor. So I began my pursuit by going to university, actually a Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois, where I got a degree in theater and a degree in communications, broadcast, radio, and television. From there, I went on down the road to University of Illinois in more cornfields in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, where I got a Master of Fine Arts in acting. And it was there, in the middle of these cornfields in Illinois, where I was introduced to something that changed my life. It was acting, but it was a physical form of acting called theatrical combat. And what fun for the young Greg Dolph that I was to all of a sudden be able to tell stories of characters while wielding swords and punching and kicking people and being thrown to the ground. It was eye-opening for me because I could suddenly, but in a very physical way. So for young people who love athletic things, this new world was life-changing for me. At the end of my 3 years, I had 3 years of theatrical combat, including 2 years of being an assistant to the instructor who changed my life. And I dumped out into the world where the world was becoming very enamored with a brand new kind of show called live action stunt shows. And some of the very early ones were the Batman stunt show, for any of your readers that might remember back that far. All the Six Flags parks had Batman stunt shows. We had Police Academy stunt shows. We had Robin Hood stunt shows. And of course, the big one that every park wanted was a Wild Wild West stunt show, as Universal Studios had for many, many years. So I dumped out into the world at just the right time for me, somebody that was in love with acting and somebody that was also in love with this physical form of acting called theatrical combat. And as you can see, I'm not a lead, I'm not like the hero type, but I'm absolutely exactly what they seem to want for their villain. So I have made a lifetime career of playing villains in different live action stunt shows, including some of those very early shows that I just mentioned. I met a lot of wonderful people back then that also climbed up that ladder in stunts and dumped out into the film and television industry at the same time. So I have many, many friends that are out there working in the film and television industry doing remarkable things. Notably, some of the people that were at Waterworld, which is where I work, I'll get to that in a moment, but other performers that have passed through the doors of Universal Studios, Waterworld, the Wild Wild West stunt show, and alike, some of those people have now dumped into the industry and have become entrenched wonderful doubles for some great stars that I know your readers will know. Larry Rippenkroger, who was one of our mariners at Waterworld, became a lifelong stunt double for Bruce Willis. We had Greg Fitzpatrick, who was one of our Waterworld cast members. He has done a stunt doubling for Ben Stiller for many, many years. Let me see, Helena Barrett has become a stunt double for Kristen Stewart in the Twilight films. Drew Barrymore, Rachel Adams. So we have wonderful examples of people. I think Steve Schreiber was also a double for Zach Galifianakis. And I know I'm missing some other people. Well, actually, quite notably, right now, one of our bosses at Universal Studios, at Action Horizons and Waterworld, Mark Vanslow, has been a lifelong stunt double for Liam Neeson. And Liam Neeson just recently announced that Mark was going to be directing his next film. So that's an amazing jump up that ladder from being a stunt performer in a live action show to being a stunt double for one of Hollywood's most famous stars to being the director of one of those famous stars. So it's been a beautiful ladder to watch. And I've been really excited to be a part of that. In the film and television industry, I've sort of peeked my head in a little bit. I've actually had some success I've done more in the world of live action theater, but in the film and television industry, I did a few movies. I worked on Resident Evil Extinction with Mila Jovovich, and she was wonderful, remarkably kind, talented woman. We were down in Mexico, in Baja, Mexico, for about 4 months working on that film, doing a lot of zombie stuff, a lot of kukris, those Nepalese sloped weapons. We did a lot of fights with her. I was in Secondhand Lions. We worked in Austin, Texas. That's a wonderful film starring Michael Caine, Robert Duvall, and we did a lot of flashback scenes when they were younger and doing all of the sword fights. I spent 10 years on the Conan O'Brian show, and so Richard, I know I sent you a lot of pictures. If we have fans of the Conan O'Brian show, I spent many, many years, over 10 years, working with Conan on a lot of sketch comedy, doing a lot of stunts, and doing some coordinating on that show. Conan, Andy Richter, their entire makeup department, costume department, their stage managers, their sound department. That was such an amazing group assembled by Conan O'Brian. Conan O'Brian will always have a very special place in my heart, always treated me very, very nicely, and always treated everyone around him really, really nicely. So hats off to Conan O'Brian, to Rick Enriquez, the casting director who opened so many doors for me and brought me in again and again and again. Love you, Rick Enriquez. Love you, Conan O'Brian, Andy Richter, and the entire family. Owe you a lot. The final thing that I'd like to share with you, I guess, is my work at the Stunt Show Universal Studios, a very special place I call home, a place that I've called home for the last 29 years of my life. I never thought that I'd be doing a show this long, but it's a stunt show called Waterworld, a live sea war spectacular. It's based off of a 1995 movie starring Kevin Costner and Dennis Hopper, Jeanine Triplehorn, and it's I think for a lot of people out there right now, they'd be like, what, there was a movie? They come and watch our show and support us year after year, and sometimes they're a little surprised that there was actually a movie that was the origin to our stunt show, but there was. It was a very, well, beautiful film actually, great cinematography, great soundtrack by James Newton Howard, wonderful action sequences, and we take all of those action sequences and we squeeze it into a beautiful 18-minute stunt show. We have a large outdoor amphitheater that holds up to 3,000 people, and we pack them in. 29 years into our show, we still are packing them in 4 to 6 times a day. Thousands of people, a lot of them leave with their mouth opening, amazed that there is a show of this nature still in the industry. Somebody asked me recently, why do I think that Waterworld has survived? Why does it resonate so strongly with people? I think it's always generated a very strong response from the audience, but I think in recent years that response has gotten even greater. I think there's a fresh new wave of appreciation for live action shows. I think nowadays there's a tremendous amount of emphasis on screen entertainment. We have cinema, of course, we have streaming platforms, we have 3D virtual reality mechanisms we connect to ourselves. We have glasses and watch 3D attractions at amusement parks. And of course, we have our phones. And our phones, of course, are where most people are glued for much of their day. And so I think Waterworld offers a return to something that's very authentic, very real, very accessible, and I think the audience looks at it and we see people doing stunts, fighting, people being blown off of towers and jumping, explosions right in front of the audience, jet skis, fire burns, all sorts of wonderful vehicles coming and going. That's just a tremendous amount of adrenaline being generated by this show that is just a few feet in front of our audience's eyes. And when we meet them later after the show during a meet and greet, they flood in, and people literally, they're enormous, and they're so appreciative of what they've seen. Many of them traveling from all over the world, and again and again and again, Richard, they're telling us, we don't have anything like this. We've never seen anything like this. This is amazing. And I think for Universal audiences, it truly is an eye-opening experience. It's very unique. Sadly, I've seen a tremendous attrition of shows. When I first started working at Universal 29 years ago, we had shows all over the park. And slowly, each one of those shows has been plucked away and it's been replaced by a ride or a 3D attraction where people sit down, put on glasses, and they turn a key, and suddenly that attraction amuses them. We are the last remaining show in the park that has a dedicated seating area. I'm going to let that settle in for a moment. We are the last remaining show at Universal Studios Hollywood with a dedicated seating area, the last live show. There are movies with seating areas. And there are certainly shows in the park. Wonderful shows where people walking by can stop and watch. But I think that says something. So we have survived. I think it's because our story is very, very simple. And I think it's very accessible for the audience to understand good versus evil. The characters are very archetypical. They're iconic, so it doesn't matter what language you speak. You very quickly go, those are the good guys, those are the bad guys, and we're off. And we care about the good guys. We want the bad guys defeated. And then our show does that in a number of beautiful ways, utilizing stunts and very, very simple staged moments of developing character. So I think our show has really stood the testament of time. I am so proud to be a part of the legacy of that show. I hope I do it until I cannot walk onto that stage any longer. In May, I completed my 13,000th show, and I still get up every single morning rejoicing in the fact that I get to do one of the most amazing things in my entire life. And may we please people for many, many more years. Waterworld is now done in 4 different parks in Hollywood. It's done at Universal Studios Japan. It's done at Universal Studios Singapore. And most recently, we opened the show in 2021 in Beijing, China. A show that I actually got to go over and spend 6 months with a wonderful cast and crew, a group of translators, and I got to help open that show, help co-direct that show into existence. Again, something that I'm very proud of and really excited that I got to be a part of. So that's my story. Richard, thank you so very much once again for inviting me to share my story, the story of Waterworld and the story of stunts and my little part in it. I wish you and your readers all the very best. I hope that you're able to come on out and visit us at Waterworld. If you do, by all means, stop by after the show. We hang out right by where the guest enters. There's a big hanging chart. And we're always happy to meet people and answer questions about what we do. Wishing you all the very best, everybody. Love you guys.